It was a quiet Sunday morning when Michael Stark walked into his home office, only to find a letter on his desk. He had been traveling overseas for months, keeping his mind occupied with work and a demanding schedule. But the moment he opened the letter, the world around him seemed to collapse. The letter was from his wife, Emma. It was a divorce filing, accompanied by a restraining order. He couldn't believe it. His hands trembled as he read the words on the paper, each one striking him like a dagger. But the shock didn't end there. His heart sank as he realized the truth. Emma had cheated on him, and the person who had been behind it all was someone he trusted. Their family's close friend and business partner, Aaron Pierce. His mind was reeling as he stood there, trying to comprehend the depth of the betrayal. How could Aaron, a man he had known for years, destroy his family in such a way? He had been blindsided, and the pain was unbearable. The decision was clear. He had to confront both Aaron and Emma. But revenge wasn't something Michael took lightly. He needed a plan, one that would not only reveal the truth, but ensure they would both pay for what they had done. Michael spent the next few days in a daze, trying to make sense of his new reality. His once stable life had been shattered in an instant. The house he'd worked so hard to build with Emma, everything felt like a lie. He knew something was wrong for a while, but he couldn't put his finger on it. Now it was all too clear. He thought back to the last few months, the small signs that Emma had been acting distant. Late nights, unexplained absences, and that strange tension between them whenever they were together. But it was Aaron's sudden coldness towards him that made him feel the most suspicious. Michael had always trusted Aaron. He was more than a business partner. They had shared everything from business ideas to personal struggles. But now Michael realized how blind he had been. He started reviewing the evidence, Emma's secretive phone calls, the long absences, and the cryptic text messages on her phone. One of them stood out. A message from Aaron saying, "Can't wait to see you tonight. Let's keep this between us, as always." The anger inside Michael was overwhelming, but he had to stay focused. He couldn't act impulsively. His emotions were running wild, but he had a family business to protect. He had to get his affairs in order first. But revenge, that cold and calculated kind of justice, was something Michael wasn't used to. It took him a few sleepless nights to come up with a plan. It wasn't just about confronting Emma. It was about taking back what was his, about exposing the truth in front of everyone who had supported this facade. After days of careful planning, Michael decided to pay Aaron a visit, to get to the bottom of things. It was time to have the conversation that would change everything. The day had come. Michael was dressed in a sharp suit, his expression hard, yet his mind was clouded with emotions he was trying to suppress. He had spent the night going over the plan again and again in his head. Today was the day he would confront Aaron, and nothing would be left unsaid. Aaron's office was located in the center of the city, surrounded by towering glass buildings that gleamed in the afternoon sunlight. Michael drove in silence, his hands gripping the steering wheel so tightly that his knuckles had turned white. He could feel the tension in the air, thick and suffocating, as he parked outside Aaron's building. This wasn't just about business. It was personal now. As he entered the building, the receptionist greeted him with a polite smile. Michael barely acknowledged her as he made his way to Aaron's office. The door was slightly ajar, and from the hallway, he could already hear Aaron's voice. "Everything's going according to plan," Aaron was saying. "She doesn't suspect a thing. The company's ours for the taking." Michael froze in the doorway. His heart pounded in his chest as he realized the full extent of Aaron's betrayal. It wasn't just about Emma. It was about his entire life's work, his family legacy. Aaron had been plotting to take control of the business, all while secretly destroying his marriage. "Why don't you just say it?" Michael's voice broke through the conversation like a thunderclap. "You've been working with her the entire time, haven't you? Emma and you, betraying me both in business and in love." Aaron's face froze, his eyes widening as he looked up at Michael, clearly not expecting him. For a brief moment, there was silence between them, the weight of the words hanging in the air. "I didn't want to do it this way, Michael," Aaron said, his voice shaking slightly. "But you left me no choice. You were too focused on work, too oblivious. She needed someone who could see her, someone who understood her. I gave her that." Michael's fist clenched. He had been so naive, so blind to the situation right in front of him. This man, the one he had trusted as a friend and business partner, had been plotting behind his back for months. His wife, too, had manipulated him into thinking she was the victim. All while she was scheming with Aaron to take everything he had worked for. "Don't make excuses for her, Aaron," Michael spat, stepping forward. "You've ruined everything. You've not only broken my heart, but you've destroyed everything I've worked so hard for." Michael could see the guilt and fear flash across Aaron's face, but it was too late. He had already crossed the line. The damage was done. But Michael wasn't done yet. He wasn't going to let them get away with it. He was going to make sure Aaron and Emma both paid for what they had done. The confrontation left Michael feeling a mix of anger, betrayal, and determination. He knew it wasn't enough to just have words with Aaron. The truth needed to be exposed, and he had to make sure that everyone, his family, his colleagues, and the people who had trusted him, understood the depth of Aaron and Emma's deceit. That night, Michael sat alone in his office, the weight of his thoughts pressing down on him. He knew he had to move quickly, and he had to be strategic. The last thing he wanted was to fall apart in front of Emma and Aaron. They had made their plans, but now it was time for him to execute his own. As he mulled over his next steps, a familiar voice interrupted his thoughts. It was his sister, Clara, who had been away on business for months. She had been an ally and a supporter of Michael throughout the years, and now, it seemed, she was the one person who could help him make the right moves. "Mike," Clara's voice broke through the tension in the room. "I just spoke to Dad. I think we need to talk. It's about Aaron and Emma. There's something you don't know." Michael turned to face his sister, his brow furrowing. "What is it, Clara? I already know everything. Aaron and Emma have been conspiring against me, and I'm going to make sure they pay." Clara hesitated, her expression solemn. "I've been doing some digging. I was in touch with one of Aaron's ex-girlfriends. She confirmed something I didn't want to believe." She paused, her eyes searching Michael's face for a reaction. "Clara, just tell me," Michael urged, his impatience growing. "Emma's pregnancy, it's not yours," Clara said, her voice low. "She lied about it. The baby is Aaron's. He's been playing both sides, using your trust to manipulate you. And now he's using your wife to keep his place in the family business. The shock hit Michael like a physical blow. His mind raced as the reality of what his sister had just revealed set in. Everything he thought he knew about his marriage, about his life, was built on lies. Emma's pregnancy, which he had thought was the only thing that kept them together, was just another part of the web of deception that had entangled him for years. The pain was almost unbearable, but it also ignited something in Michael, a burning desire for retribution. He had to end this. The business, the marriage, everything had to be stripped away. He wasn't going to let Emma and Aaron destroy his life any longer. But Michael couldn't act hastily. He needed evidence. He needed to be sure that Aaron had truly manipulated Emma into this scheme. So, he began gathering everything he could. Phone records, emails, text messages, anything that could expose the truth. As Michael sat there, the pieces began to fall into place. He wasn't just going to confront Aaron again. He was going to bring the entire truth to light. He would expose them all. And when he did, nothing would ever be the same again. The days following Clara's revelation were the hardest Michael had ever faced. Every time he closed his eyes, the image of Emma and Aaron together haunted him. The truth stung worse than any physical wound. He had been betrayed on every level, by his wife, his business partner, and his own heart. But he was no longer going to sit idly by. Michael knew he couldn't just confront Aaron and Emma on the facts alone. He needed the world to see them for who they truly were. He needed their lies to be exposed, publicly and without mercy. He began working with a private investigator, someone he trusted, to gather the evidence he needed. Every detail mattered, from financial transactions to hidden meetings. Nothing was too small, and every shred of information would be crucial in his revenge. It wasn't long before the investigator returned with a crucial piece of evidence: surveillance footage of Emma and Aaron together at a hotel in the city. They were laughing, speaking intimately, and as the camera panned out, it was clear. They were sharing a kiss. It wasn't just the betrayal that tore Michael apart. It was the audacity with which they had carried on their affair in plain sight, all while pretending to be loyal partners. This was the moment Michael had been waiting for. He knew the time had come to take action. It was a crisp afternoon when Michael invited both Emma and Aaron to a meeting at his office. His hands were steady as he prepared the documents: the divorce papers, the footage, the proof of their financial schemes. As they entered the room, Michael's eyes met Emma's. There was no guilt in her expression, only coldness, like she had already moved on from everything they once shared. "Please sit," Michael said, his voice calm, though his anger simmered beneath the surface. "I've got a few things I'd like to discuss." Aaron sat down without hesitation, a smug expression on his face, thinking this was just another business meeting. Emma took her seat next to him, her posture rigid, her eyes avoiding Michael's gaze. "I'm sure you both know why you're here," Michael began, locking eyes with both of them. "What I'm about to show you is the truth you've been hiding." Without waiting for their reactions, he clicked a button on his computer, and the surveillance footage filled the screen. Emma's eyes widened, and Aaron's face turned ashen. The room was thick with tension as Michael let the video play out in silence, watching the realization slowly dawn on both of them. "You thought I wouldn't find out, didn't you?" Michael's voice was quiet, but it carried a weight of authority that sent a chill through the room. "You both played me. I trusted you, and this is what you did." Emma shifted uncomfortably in her seat, but she didn't speak. Aaron, on the other hand, looked up, his face reddening with anger. "You've got it all wrong, Michael," Aaron snapped. "This isn't what you think. Emma and I—" "You're right," Michael interrupted. "This isn't what I think. It's what I know. And now the whole world will know, too." He reached into his drawer and pulled out the divorce papers. He slid them across the table, along with the financial documents that revealed the extent of Aaron's manipulations within the business. "This is just the beginning," Michael said. "I'm filing for divorce, and I'm making sure you both lose everything. You've taken my trust, my family, and now I'm taking everything back." Aaron stood up, his fist clenched, but Michael wasn't intimidated. He was done with this. "You've destroyed my life, Aaron, but I'm not going to let you walk away unscathed. You'll regret the day you thought you could pull this off." Emma, her face pale, finally spoke. "Michael, please. I never meant for any of this to happen. No," Michael cut her off, his voice hard. "You did mean it, and now you'll live with the consequences." With that, Michael stood up, his decision final. He wasn't going to let them off easy. It wasn't just about revenge. It was about regaining control of his life. They had taken enough from him, but now he would make sure they paid the price. The fallout from the meeting was swift and brutal. Michael wasted no time in making his next move. The divorce papers were filed, and soon the media had caught wind of the scandal. The once prominent Stark family, known for their business success and high society image, was now under siege. News outlets ran stories about the affair, the financial embezzlement, and the lies that had been kept hidden for so long. Emma, who had once walked with her head held high, was now facing the wrath of the public. The once glamorous life she had lived crumbled before her eyes. She was now a woman scorned, and the truth about her involvement with Aaron came out in full force. The phone calls, the secret meetings, the manipulations, it was all there for everyone to see. She couldn't escape the truth, and neither could Aaron. But while Emma struggled to salvage whatever was left of her reputation, Aaron found himself entangled in a series of legal battles. The documents Michael had prepared, the evidence of Aaron's embezzlement and deceit, were now in the hands of the authorities. The company's board members, who had once trusted Aaron, were now questioning his every move. It wasn't long before Aaron's role in the company was scrutinized, and he was pushed out, his wealth and status slipping through his fingers like sand. For Michael, however, the journey was just beginning. He had taken the first steps toward regaining control of his life, but there was still much to be done. He focused on rebuilding his career, taking back what was rightfully his, and slowly but surely he began to reclaim his position at the company. The pressure was immense, but Michael was resolute. He wouldn't let them destroy everything he had worked for, not his business, not his family, and certainly not his peace of mind. In the midst of this chaos, Michael had found an unexpected ally. Clara. She stood by him through every legal battle, every media frenzy, offering her support and helping him navigate the treacherous waters. Together, they began to rebuild not just the company, but the family. Michael had learned that it wasn't just about revenge. It was about healing, about moving forward, and about creating a future that was his and his alone. As for Emma, she had lost everything: the public fallout, the legal consequences, and the destruction of her personal life left her with little to hold on to. The children, once so eager to spend time with her, now looked at her with distrust. They saw the truth of what she had done, and it broke Michael's heart to see the damage that had been done to them. But Michael was determined to protect them. He made sure they knew the truth, and that they understood that they were not responsible for the actions of their mother. Slowly, he began to rebuild their trust, offering them the support they needed to heal from the scars Emma had left behind. With his professional life on the rise, and his children starting to rebuild their relationship with him, Michael felt a sense of control he hadn't experienced in years. He had faced the worst and come out stronger on the other side. His revenge had been sweet, but his redemption was even sweeter. Months passed, and Michael's life slowly began to take shape again. The scars of betrayal were still there, but they no longer controlled him. He had rebuilt his reputation, his family, and his future. The battle for his legacy had been long and painful, but he had emerged victorious. His business was thriving, and the media storm had subsided, though the memory of the scandal lingered in the background. Michael's children, who had once been distant and confused, now lived with him full-time. They had learned to trust him again, and slowly their lives began to return to some semblance of normalcy. It wasn't easy, but Michael was patient. He knew the journey ahead would be a long one, but he was willing to do whatever it took. As for Aaron, his fall from grace was complete. The legal battles continued to haunt him, and his reputation as a once prominent business figure was now tarnished beyond repair. He had lost his wealth, his connections, and his future. Michael had made sure of it. The public shunning, the legal consequences, and the damage to his career were all part of the price he had to pay for his betrayal. But it was Emma who had suffered the most. After the dust had settled, she found herself alone. The life of luxury she had once enjoyed was gone, and she was forced to reckon with the choices she had made. Michael had made sure to distance himself from her completely, offering no more support, no more tolerance for her lies. She was left to fend for herself in the wake of her actions. As Michael moved on, he found a new sense of peace. He focused on his work, rebuilding the family business with integrity, and ensuring that his children had everything they needed to thrive. His relationship with Clara remained strong, and they continued to work together to safeguard the future of the company. Then, one day, as Michael sat in his office, reviewing some new business proposals, there was a knock at the door. It was Clara, a warm smile on her face. She walked in, sitting down across from him. "You've come a long way," Clara said, her voice soft but proud. "You've rebuilt everything. You've come out of this stronger than ever." Michael leaned back in his chair, his gaze focused on the window. "I had to," he replied. "But it wasn't just about rebuilding what I lost. It was about learning to forgive myself, to move forward, not just for me, but for them." Clara smiled. They're lucky to have you. As Michael sat there, thinking about how far he had come, a sense of calm washed over him. The chaos was behind him now. He had made peace with the past, and he was ready to embrace the future. He had fought for everything that mattered: his family, his integrity, his legacy, and he had won. The road ahead was his to define, and for the first time in a long time, Michael felt truly free. The revenge he had sought had been fulfilled, but the real victory lay in what he had built after the storm had passed. His life was now his own, and no one, no matter how close they had once been, could take that away from him.